God.
And then I
You
went.
can't just walk in front of the camera like.
Yeah.
And Justin, I guess. He owns it. It's a really cute story on page 2. I'm serious, she's in there.
I didn't get a chance to read it yet. That's why I said, oh no.
Yes, you'll like the story, it's cute.
I'll just pick one up.
It just turned into, she said. So. Hello. See my baby girl in the picture. Yeah, she's a little doll. She's a little doll. Oh, Lord. Hey, guys.
Oh, my gosh, always on board. Okay, I told her. She's like, where'd you get that banner? Oh, yeah, that was by the dogs. And then by the door. Oh, that one we usually, I tried to keep it on like during the night, because I have to let the dog go.
Yeah.
Cause I'm like, wow, right out the alley, every time I open the door. Yeah.
She saw it.
That's what I call them. How does that happen? Oh, that's a cute story. Sure.
Oh, yeah,
Good chat.
What they do want to
And it's Friday one?
And it doesn't matter if you don't get that or
Is
not.
it Friday?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So I should do Loki out. Story like that. Yeah, just like every.
But he's done that for.
Right.
I know.
I like Aaron.
And when I learned from my hip.
It's real.
Oh. I don't know.
Yeah, he does that if you have to.
I'll see.
How's it going, Bob? Spending most of the time in the goddamn
How are
back.
you?
I'm good. How you
The
doing?
lighter
Good.
side.
Came down the hill.
Yeah.
Feeling better now, though. Good.
There you
Don't do
go.
anything crazy.
I can see a lot.
They're gonna have to go up and see what's up there. I don't know if it's dead end is so up in here. Kevin takes an opinion from the other side.
Oh, yeah, it's working. That's good. Yeah, it is.
I didn't know we were having a meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
I get yelled at. We are.
I didn't even know we were having a meeting. Oh. That was
Oh my gosh. Get the lunch and half of your house. Uh-huh, 25 cents for, I just tried it. Thank you. And then I took it home.
so feel better about it. can manage to shower, so you don't have to go to bed.
Oh, it was good.
All the way around.
And then when they got there, the lights were out. And where are you waiting? I think way more sleep.
I barely managed to get the shower.
Order. Like to lead us, pledge allegiance?
No, I'd be happy to. I'd be honored to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Here.
Ms. Adams. Here. Mr. Barajas.
Here.
Ms. Gilman. Here. Mr. Romero.
Here.
Mr. Thorne.
Here. Approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Ms. Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Barajas.
Yes.
Ms. Gilman. Yes. Mr. Romero.
Yes.
Mr. Thorne.
Yes.
On new business, we'd like to swear in our new mayor, Linda Incentive, as mayor.
Tell us. How do you say?
Insignias.
Insignia?
Insignia.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we need one.
Nobody else in this house. Come on up. Come on up, Lynn.
Come on, Miss Insignias. Wait, I'm going to not there. I'm stoned.
Did I slaughter? Pretty bad.
You did. I, Erlinda Insignias, do solemnly swear by the ever-living God that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the state of Colorado, the ordinance of the town of Aguilar, and faithfully perform the duties of town board trustee upon which I am about to enter. Perform the duties of mayor
the gavel.
That's okay, go ahead.
You may need it.
Floor is all yours, sir.
Oh, okay, very good.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Board of Trustees, for having me out. Wonderful to get out of the Denver area and come visit with you all.
I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love coming down this way. By way of introduction, my name's Sam Light, and I'm Deputy Executive Director and General Counsel for an outfit called Cirsa, IRSA. That's an acronym that stands for the Colorado Intergovernmental Risk Sharing Agency, which is kind of a mouthful, right? Which is why we call it Cirsa. So we're the town's insurance provider for property and casualty and workers' compensation coverage. And so we provide your insurance. You know, we do the insurance on this building, the insurance on your town vehicles, you know, that's your property and auto physical damage insurance. We provide auto liability coverage if there's an accident that occurs while one of your employees is out on the job as an accident. We provide a little more esoteric to public entities. We provide public entity insurance coverages, right? Things like law enforcement liability coverage, general liability coverage for everything from a slip and fall accident, right? If someone claims the town's at fault, all the way up to public officials liability coverage. You know, I hope it wasn't first thing on your mind when you decided to become a trustee, but you're kind of wondering, do I have insurance that covers me for doing my job as an elected official? And the answer is you do. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on this evening, okay? Let me tell you a little bit more about Cirsa before I tell you about my training and what we're going to talk about tonight. So Cirsa is not a commercial insurance company. Okay? We're what's called a public entity self-insurance pool. And so we are not a for-profit company. We're essentially a quasi-governmental entity. Our only book of business, our only insurance is we insure Colorado cities and towns and affiliated entities. We insure about 90% of the municipalities in the state of Colorado. That's essentially all of the smaller municipalities, almost all of the small to mid-size, almost all of the mid-size to medium large, but not the real big cities like the Denvers and the Auroras, Colorado Springs. They're not in our self-insurance pool, and frankly, that would be kind of like the tail wagging that dog to have that big of an entity in a self-insurance pool. So we are owned and controlled by our members. Our only interests, we have only two things in mind at Cirsa. That's the interest of our pool, our 290 members collectively as a pool, and the individual interest of our members, okay? So we got about 290 members. We've been around since 1982. You can learn more about Cirsa at our website, which is www.cirsa.org. Probably of most interest to you as the elected officials is if you go to our homepage, right across the top, there's a ribbon, and there's a tab there for education and training. If you click on that, there's a drop-down menu, and there's one that says elected officials page. And that's where you can find more about liability issues and best practices, suggestions for elected officials and appointed officials on doing the work that you do as the elected governing body of the municipality. And we're going to talk a lot about that this evening. The concept of within your organizational structure, the elected board of trustees is kind of analogous to the private sector board of directors. We call it a board of trustees. You're the governing body and the legislative body of the town. We're going to talk about what that means and how that influences risk and how that influences where you should be focusing your energy as a board of trustees, okay? Before I leave the topic of Cirsa, I put a couple of handouts at your places just for resource material for you all to have. One of them is Cirsa at a glance, okay? Tells you more about the services that we provide and the types of things that we do for our members that are different than commercial insurance carriers. One of the things we do, you know, maybe you've experienced this with your homeowners or your auto coverage, like your only interaction, your only relationship with the insurer is you pay the premium every year, and then you hope to God you don't have a claim. But when you do, you turn the claim in and then you wait for a response. And that's kind of the whole relationship you have with the insurer. At Cirsa, because we're a municipal self-insurance pool owned and controlled by our members, we think it's a win-win when Cirsa as an entity and our members collectively, right, commit to best practices that help mitigate risk. It helps everybody in the pool by keeping your insurance costs down, and it helps individual members by reducing your potential exposure to individual liabilities on an individual basis. So I say that in terms of letting you know that through our risk control department and other resources at Cirsa, we have resources that are there as much or as little as the town would like to use them. You don't have to use them. We tend to be more of a carrot than a stick organization, but we like to give resources to folks to help them get things done on behalf of their community. So those resources are there for you if you would like to use them. Everybody who's a member of Cirsa has a loss control representative. In our underwriting department, we have an underwriting representative for you. If you have claims, we have a claim representative. Just to give you a sense, some of the services that we provide through my office, the general counsel office. If you, for example, are entering into a contract with the state or the county, or maybe you're building something and you're hiring a contractor, and it's one of those types of contracts where it's got pretty complex insurance provisions that you don't see all that often, you can send the contract to us at Cirsa before you sign it, and we can give you feedback. We're not going to negotiate for you. That's your job, but we can give you, on the backside of that, we can give you suggestions. Hey, with regard to insurance that this other party's asking the town to carry, hey, this and that language doesn't work because it's not consistent with the coverages that you have with Cirsa. Or if you're, the owner and you're building something and you go, what kind of insurance should we require of the contractor? We can give you suggestions on what's typical and what's protective of the town as an organization around those issues. That's just one example. Now, having said all that, the example is now the real live thing, why I'm here. Both myself, our executive director, and my associate general counsel, one of the things that we do on behalf of our organization at Cirsa is we provide trainings to elected and appointed officials around risk management or best practices for you all as the governing body of the organization. And so that's what we're going to talk about this evening. Okay, I put a couple of handouts at your places that I'll mention as we go through the material, but the topics that I intend primarily to hit upon are the role of public official, organizational structure and liability. We'll talk a little bit about transparency, the open meetings law, the open records law. The last two bullets there, we actually do separate trainings that are about 1 hour each on these topics, but I do want to introduce a couple of concepts to you. We'll talk about the code of ethics, right? May not have been the first thing on your mind, but when you become an elected public official in Colorado and here in Aguilar, you become subject to both the state code of ethics and the local code of ethics. We'll talk a little bit about what that means. The last bullet's about due process, and I'm going to, just in the interest of time, particularly if you have questions of me, I'm kind of going to put that one on the shelf because that's its own specialized area. There's a whole set of, just to tell you what it is, and then I tell you I'm going to park it on a shelf. When you make decisions affecting individual property rights, like if you as a board have a request in front of you to rezone property or to subdivide property, or maybe someone comes in with a new application for a new liquor license, when you're making those kind of decisions, you're affecting individuals' protected property interests at an individualized level, right? And when you're doing that, there's different rules that apply, right? When you're, as a town board, deciding whether you want to adopt just a general ordinance, maybe a animal control ordinance or a nuisance ordinance, when you're doing that kind of work, you're not making a specific decision that affects just one individual. You're making new law for the whole town, right? So in that legislative role, there are different rules of behavior, things like you can lobby and be lobbied, you can vote based on your own personal opinion, that kind of thing. But when you're making decisions on these individual applications, you have to act more like a judge. And that's what due process requirements are all about. But I'm going to put that on the shelf primarily this evening because I don't think you have many of those that come up on your agenda. I think most of your work relates to policy making, right? And then to dealing with board level administrative issues, like approving the bills, deciding whether or not to enter into a contract, setting the terms for some administrative policy, those kinds of things, right? That all makes sense? Okay. I've got to make a couple of disclaimers for you all here. So the first one is, I said I was general counsel at Cirsa, so I am an attorney but this is not an attorney-client discussion, okay? So on the other hand, as I mentioned, I want to make the time together as useful to you all as possible, so feel free to ask me questions if you have questions. But in the 32 years I've been doing this, I have developed, I got a pretty good radar for what I call the live one, okay? So yeah, I want to be helpful here, but if your question is the live burning issue of the day here in Aguilar, right, for which you need legal advice, then that's going to be for your town attorney. I know you're without one right now, okay? But you know how it goes. Like I'll be in my trainings and sometimes someone will say to me, Sam, I've got a question. You know, they say, Sam, what if another member of the city council does this? And everyone's eyes open wide and, yeah, this is going to be exciting. And that's when my radar is going off telling me that's the live burning issue that you got going on right here. And I'm not going to give legal advice in an open public session. Okay, I probably won't pull any punches on telling you what some statutes say, but I'm not giving you specific legal advice on that. If you need legal advice, you want to get that from your town attorney. Okay, and that is one of my suggestions. I do have a sense of some things you got going on, but not everything you got going on, obviously. But one of my risk management suggestions for you all, as the part-time volunteer citizen legislators who signed up to be on the governing body, right? You weren't elected to be, and you aren't the full-time professionals, and you weren't asked to be lawyers. You weren't asked to be HR managers or directors, right? That kind of thing. So one of my first suggestions to you is, I know you have a vacancy in your town attorney position, right? You want to get that filled as soon as you can, okay? So whatever that looks like to you, you get your RFP out there, see if you can find a town attorney who can help you out with your issues, and make sure from where you sit in terms of risk management, you want to get a new attorney on board and follow the advice of your town attorney, okay? And I'm not naive. I've been around before I joined Cirsa, I was a town attorney for 25 years, and I know there can be tussling and disputes around these issues, and I know that some people can wonder, what's the town attorney's advice? But from a risk management perspective, get yourself a town attorney on board, collectively ask for your legal advice, and then from a risk management perspective, it's very helpful to rely on your attorney's advice, okay? So that's my thought on that issue. Did I make 2 disclaimers or 1? Yes, it's not legal advice, and I don't answer live ones. So that's 2 disclaimers. All right, I think we're good. All right, very good. Let me ask this: you got some new members on the board? Well, you got a brand new mayor. Congratulations. Have you had? So let me just ask this. I'll ask it this way: in terms of introduction, if you don't mind, if you're okay with just quickly go around and just tell me how long you've been on the board. Yeah. Trustee Thorne. April of this year. All right, congratulations. Yeah. Hi. You don't want to tell me how long you've been on the board? May? Congratulations. All right, so an appointment in May.
Oh, I was elected.
Oh, in May. Did you have a special election? Or your?
No.
You didn't swear in until May.
Oh, okay. Oh, April election, got sworn in May. Yes. Hi. Got it. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Second term now.
Second term.
But I served a 4-year years ago, and
okay.
I'm back on for 2.
Okay, very good. And
10
May?
minutes?
10 minutes.
March of last year.
Since March of last year?
June of this year.
June this year? All right, congratulations. Yeah. Well, my record is 35 years, so no one's close to that. It is a new record this evening for the shortest term in elected office on the night that I've shown up for a presentation, so congratulations. Okay. Though I am an attorney, I try to go light on the legalese. Most of my risk management suggestions actually, though, do have a risk underpinning and do relate to potential legal liability risk. So I'm happy to give you more information on the underpinnings of some of the advice that I provide or suggestions. But I have organized my presentation primarily around what I call commitments or suggestions for success that I hope will help you individually as trustees be successful in your role as trustees, but as important, and in fact more important, to succeed collectively as a board of trustees. Because at the end of the day, right, we are elected to serve on a multi-member governing body, but there is but one body, right? And so the work requires collaboration. And by that, I don't mean that every vote has to be a 7-0 vote, right? But what I'm saying is that the board, in each member contributing to the success of the organization, brings their own voice but you're working towards what? The voice of the board, right? The community say, what was the board's decision? We were individual contributors to that voice, but the one that matters, the one that has authority is the board as a board, right? So, but anyway, here are my suggestions, and I hope they're helpful. The first one may not sound like a risk management suggestion, but it really is. And that's this. Do you agree with this notion? When you got elected, when you took that oath of office, your role and relationship to the community changes pretty dramatically. Everyone agree with that? Right? You're no longer just a citizen, Aguilar. You're now a government official. And I'm kind of here to tell you that that's, from a certain perspective, a 24/7 job. Right? And please have a personal life, right? Please enjoy it. But recognize now that you're an elected official, and right, for the town, an elected official under Colorado law, right? In the eyes of the citizens, in the eyes of your constituents, in the eyes of that group of people that you take your counsel from, right? They will always consider you to be a member of the town board, a representative of the town as an entity, right? And a representative of the town board itself as an institution, right? That's definitely true with respect to town business matters. But is that where it ends? Probably not, right? Have you had some recent events here in town, like a town picnic or event, or you have a summer event of some kind in town? Yeah, what was that called?
Aguilar Days.
Aguilar Days, right? And you know how it is, you know, you're there with your family or friends or relatives, and there's a trustee over there. I'm going to go talk to him about town business, right? So that hat is always on, right? And do you interact with citizens every now and then? Yeah. And they'll come up to you and they'll ask you, hey, when is the town board going to do something about this? Right? And now your own radar might be going off. You might be thinking to yourself, well, gee, I don't know, because we as a board haven't gotten together yet in this room to talk about that issue. But the citizen persists and say, well, you know, I know the board hasn't talked about it yet, but what's your personal opinion? They just want to know your personal opinion. So you go, I'll bite, I'll take the bait, right? You say, hey, okay, just a reminder, the board has not yet talked about this. So the board doesn't have, to my knowledge, a view or a position, but here's my personal opinion. Here's my personal opinion. Here's my personal opinion. What are they filtering? Trustee. That's why the newspapers report what you say, because your voice does have power. It does have standing. That's why citizens want to talk to you, right? And that's why it's important to remember this perception that that hat is always on, as they should. Your words, your deeds, your conduct as an elected official in the state of Colorado has meaning, has effect, leaves an impression, right? And fair or unfair, you know, in the eyes of, if that interaction with a citizen doesn't go down the way they thought it should, fair or unfair, it might even leave a residue, right? And in a really bad situation, it might create a liability risk, right? So you want to use those interactions as the opportunity to shine as an ambassador for the organization, as an ambassador of the council. Yeah, internally amongst each other, you might have your own disagreements and things like that, but the job of being on the elected governing body, on that board of directors, is to empower and resource the organization to succeed, right? Let's see, what else? Recognize that as an elected official now on a town board, you're no longer an outsider to town government, right? Local government, you're now insiders. And it has this significant meaning in terms of risk management. On the inside, Sarah was nice enough to give me this. I won't take it with me, I'll leave it behind. She gave it. Everybody took the oath of office, right? Okay, good. We got to do that within 10 days or something. Yeah. So I don't know, did everyone get one of these? Yeah, you know, back in my day, I'm dating myself, but back in the day, what you would do is you would take the oath of office, everyone would clap, and then the clerk would immediately come up and give you this massive book of ordinances. Oh, here, you know, but it's still out there. Now it's usually online, but we have a hard copy here in Town Hall. It's your book of ordinances. These are the laws that your predecessor board of trustees have adopted, right? Hundreds of pages that set down the requirements for how we as a board, both procedurally and substantively make decisions, right? And there's also all those state statutes up on the shelf up there that set the standards and requirements for how you as a board of trustees have to do your business. And now that you're on the inside, those rules stick to us. And I guarantee you're going to bump up against a rule that maybe you don't like all that much, right? But we neither individually nor as a board have the power to say, I don't like that rule. I'm not going to follow it, right? Now, if it's a town adopted rule and you're following the appropriate legislative process, you can amend rules, right? But you want to be careful. You don't want to amend rules on the fly in the middle of a decision, right? And you want to go through the legislative policymaking process to amend your ordinances. But ignoring ordinances that require you to do things is a bad place to be, right? To going off script is a bad place to be. I know it makes it sound like a little bit like it's not that exciting, right? But you got to commit to follow the rules that are in place. If a rule is bothering you, right, then you as a board have to decide, hey, is that a rule? If it's a town rule, is that one we want to amend? And if we're going to amend it, we have to follow the proper process and get legal guidance on what's the box that we're operating in, right? Because beyond the books, there's all sorts of judge-made law that sets limitations, right, on how we use our authority, okay? So is that all helpful? You get that point? All right, recognize also that whatever brought you to want to run for office, sometimes the dynamic is you're a critic or proponent or something, or you say, hey, I see some things going on that I'd like to help with, or this one issue is of interest to me, so I want to get on there to help with this issue. Maybe it's the finances or the utilities or whatever. Remember that now that you're on the board, the obligation is to be a good representative with respect to all the issues that come in front of you. We all have issues we like and don't like, but someone says, I'm interested in the water system, or I'm interested in the budget. But you want to be engaged and be a good representative for all the issues that come in front of the board. The tenure of being an elected official is not to be a single issue representative, but an all issue representative on behalf of the community. Recognize also in legal terms, state law says that you're a fiduciary. We all know what that means. Fiduciary is the legal concept in an attorney's mind. Fiduciary obligation is the obligation that you have to put the interest of the organization that you serve, the town, as a corporate entity, to put those interests above all other interests, above personal interests, even above the interest of, this has ever happened, Tom? Put above the interest of the small but vocal minority. I don't know, what's your population these days?
473. I think we said.
What's that?
Like 470.
473? All right, they don't all fit in this room, but you got a good showing tonight, right? But sometimes, you're going to have a dynamic where, maybe during a meeting, someone stands up and they say, and it's a small but energized, passionate, vocal, but small minority of people, and they say, board, you got to do this and you got to do it tonight. Part of the fiduciary obligation is to remember that you're elected to represent the entirety, right? That silent majority as well, right? And so one of the things that I recommend to you as a board of trustees collectively, one of the powers that you have collectively as a board is to take the time that you need and get the information that you need that you think will help you as a board, as the corporate governing body, make decisions that serve that fiduciary interest. In that situation I described, it may be frustrating to the citizens who are there asking you to do something tonight. But on the other hand, if you as a board, you hear that issue come up and you're thinking to yourselves, well, wait a second, I haven't heard about this issue before. Or, hey, we as a board haven't had a chance to talk about what our options are or what our authority is or what we as a board want to do, as a board, And so in that situation, I would, you may even be thinking, gee, that may be one perspective on the issue, but we haven't heard, from staff on whether we have resources, we have room in the budget. We haven't heard from the attorney on whether we have even legal authority to get involved in this issue, right? So as a board, if things aren't feeling like they're ripe for a decision, then use that power and prerogative to do the wise thing. Again, maybe you have to put it on a work session or bring it back, but you take that time and get the information that you need, whatever that looks like on any particular issue, to help you make good decisions, okay? All right. Oops, sorry about that. Get that out of the way.